Before we start working with square roots, I want to remind you of something. You know by distribution that 2 times x minus 5 is 2x minus 10 because of 2 times x and 2 times negative 5. Well, distribution can work even with square roots. Go and try this. 3 times 5 minus root 2. Well, if we distribute, 3 times 5 is 15, and 3 minus root 2 is 3 root 2. And they're not like terms, and we can't simplify, so that's as far as that goes. Let's try another one like that. The square root of 2 times 4 minus root 10. Well, when you distribute, this would be 4 root 2, which doesn't simplify, minus the square root of 20, which does simplify. The square root of 20 is 4 times 5, and so we would end up with 4 root 2 minus 2 root 5. We can't combine them, so this is where that problem ends. Now, it's the case that if you can simplify a square root, you always should. Just like you should always simplify fractions when possible. For the remainder of this video, I want to remind you of a technique for multiplication and teach you something new. So the first thing I want to remind you of is how you can do x plus 2 times x minus 3. I want to remind you that we use distribution. So we did x plus 2 times x plus x plus 2 times negative 3. And we did it this way for purposes of factoring, which many of you have mastered now. When we distribute again, you get x squared plus 2x minus 3x minus 6, and the middle terms become x squared minus x minus 6. You don't have to learn this new thing I'm going to show you, but you may find it helpful, and some of you already know it and have been using it anyway. And it's called the FOIL method. Now, if the example I'm giving you doesn't make a ton of sense, you can find tons of videos on the FOIL method of multiplication. X plus 2 times x minus 3 using the FOIL method. F stands for first, and so the first thing I'm going to do is x times x, and O stands for outer. Then I'm going to do x times negative 3. So I'll get x, that's really bad, I'll get x squared minus 3x. So basically we did this number times everything over here. Now I'll move on to the second number. In this case it's 2. I'm going to do 2 times x, and then 2 times negative 3. Now notice, so basically I did the second number times everything over here. And notice we got the exact same thing we did with the distribution method, just a slightly different way. Because when you combine like terms, you get x squared minus x minus 6. The two processes work the same way. They're just different orders of multiplying things together. Why don't you try to just practicing multiplying using FOIL with this problem. 2x minus 3 times 4x plus 5. Hit pause and give it a shot. So if we're practicing FOIL, 2x times 4x would be 8x squared, and 2x times 5 would be 10x. Then if we move on to the second number, negative 3 times 4x is negative 12x. Negative 3 times 5 is negative 15. When we combine like terms, we'll get 8x squared minus 2x minus 15. Again, if you prefer distribution, that's fine, and that'll still work all the time. but FOIL is just another way of going about things. And you'll see why it'll be helpful in the next video.